I have reviewed the evidence presented by the plaintiff and defendant, and I have reached a verdict. In the case of MisterSkids v. Channel Hopper, on the counts of plagiarizing 10 seconds of information used in his video review of Mystery Skulls Animated, freaking out, word for word.
I've spent weeks on my defense. There's no way I can lose. Freedom of speech is on my side.
This court finds in favor of MisterSkids.
Wait, what?
Oh, and the stars align.
More like falling stars.
I will now read out MisterSkids' demands. The video will stay up on YouTube, and Mr. Hopper isn't required to pay any fees, as long as credit for the information used in said video is given in the form of an annotation as well as in the description box down below of the video.
Wait, that's it?
MisterSkids also requests that Mr. Hopper would receive a boot to the head.
A what? Ow! Oh, come on! Are we actually doing this joke?
There's one more thing MisterSkids has requested.
Oh no, I am not falling for this joke again.
MisterSkids would also like to do a collab with Mr. Hopper. That is all.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. Well, what did you want to review?
Oh, there's so many to choose from. Maybe Teen Titans Go, Uncle Grandpa, Sanjay and Craig, Powerpuff Girls.
Oh no, anything but... Wait, did you say Powerpuff Girls?
Yes! Do you accept?
Sure, why not? Let's review the Powerpuff Girls.
The reboot.
Wait, what? You are just the worst.
Hey, I won fair and square, Mr. Hopper, so the sooner you do this, the sooner you can go back to your own reviews.
Very well. First things first, though. Hello, cartoon fans of the internet. I'm your cartoon and animation fanatic, Channel Hopper, and the cartoons I hop through are good enough to review. And joining me here as part of my community service is MisterSkids.
Hello everybody, it is I, MisterSkids, and I'm bringing you a collab review! Woo!
Oh joy.
So, if we're gonna talk about the Powerpuff Girls, we have to talk firstly about the original series.
That much I'm okay with. The Powerpuff Girls cartoon got its first debut on the Water Cartoon block back in 1995 and officially aired on Cartoon Network back in 1998. The series was created by Craig McCracken, who you may remember as the creator of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Wander Over Yonder. The show centers around 3 superpowered girls named Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup who fight crime, monsters, and the occasional evil monkey in the city of Townsville. The show officially ended in 2005 and had a great runtime of 6 seasons, 2 specials, and a theatrical release back in 2001. The show did end on somewhat of a good note, but 11 years later, we got this. Party time!
Ugh, come on people, they're little girls! Why would they be twerking?
You have no idea what you got us into.
You mean what I got you into? This is, after all, your channel.
Don't remind me.
Anyways, many of the fans of the original show have disregarded this reboot as nothing more than the company's attempt to market the girls to a younger generation, while still trying to appeal to the fans who grew up with the show. They've introduced new voice actresses for the girls while keeping all the original voices for the supporting characters. Not to mention they removed Miss Billum altogether, claiming that she, quote, wasn't quite indicative of the kind of messaging we wanted to be giving out at this time. Though they showed that she still exists, but due to Deus Ex Machina, she will be gone for 1,000 days vacation time. As I recall, Craig McCracken stated that Miss Bellum's best feature is her mind, and not showing her face was a commentary on how women at the time were only seen for their bodies.
A hot assistant that you would think every politician or executive would have, so you don't show her best feature. Her best feature is her mind.
So, be honest here. What message did you guys think her appearance was giving out? Not to mention another piece of anatomy completely missing. But enough about that. There are a number of factors to examine in this new version of the Powerpuff Girls in order to give a proper review, such as animation, the characters' interactions, the comedy, and the overall execution of these elements.
First up is the animation, and I can already say without question that the style and animation needs more work and is nothing like the original. For starters, the original show used cells and hand-painted backgrounds. The characters also had thick outlines and sharp edges that created an interesting contrast between the girls and the world they live in. However, the new show is all done in computers and the colors are too soft and vibrant with hardly any distinction between the characters and the backgrounds. This creates issues with perspective shots that either make the characters look too big or too small, as well as creating layering issues. And I'm sure plenty of people have mentioned the animation errors or the fact that the background characters all look like rejected Clarence characters. Heck, if it wasn't for the girls, I could have easily mistaken this show for an episode of Clarence or possibly Uncle Grandpa.
Sadly, according to IMDb, both these shows are even better than the terrible rehashing, getting a 3.4 out of 10. I would say that the score is a bit too much though. This show really isn't the worst thing ever. Some of the jokes do hit home in the later episodes. Take example the episode Viral Spiral. The episode centers around the Amoeba Boys invading the internet, and if they can't stop them, they will infect the entire web. Having Bubbles be just a little smarter than Blossom when it comes to video games is an interesting contrast from her previous character, and the use of modern media and other pop culture references were utilized perfectly in the terms of comedy.
Well, I hate to admit it, but this episode actually made me laugh and got me interested in the new villain named Silico, who we might see again later in the show. I also like the fact that the memes in this episode actually work with the plot instead of just being there for the sake of being up to date with today's audience. And believe me, this show uses memes to the point of an obsession, especially with Bubbles.
OMG! Yes! Now my gusta! Party time!
However, it's not just memes that are overused in the show. There's always this echoing voice that pops in every now and then, and the girls' eyes constantly change into these emojis. Haven't the writers learned by now that less is more?
Except when it comes to money.
Anyways, I think what sets this reboot apart the most from the original show is how the girls don't act like the Powerpuff Girls. Nothing against the new voice actresses, but to me, the girls just don't sound as young as they did before. Not to mention the show doesn't consider them that young anymore since it looks like they're in elementary or middle school at this point. There's also clear signs of aging in the new voices, as Buttercup sounds more like a dude, Bubbles sounds like she hit puberty and no longer sounds cute, and Blossom sounds arrogant and condescending most of the time, though she seems to be the closest to the original voice compared to the others, but it still sounds off to me. While the voices can take some time getting used to, their personalities are flanderized to the point of irritating. Blossom lacks the complexity of her character in the original show and has become an obsessed neat freak, cleaning to the point where it's now a staple in her newfound powers.
Speaking of powers, let me derail you a second to ask, what the hell is up with these new powers? They can transform this energy-like stuff into things that they like the most, but it feels more like selling out. I mean, they already were selling the toys of them with these powers before the episodes even aired. Not to mention that they also did the episodes in the wrong order, showing one where they already had their powers before showing an episode where they even got them. Okay, I'm done.
And back to the other girls, Bubbles was the sweet and cheerful one of the group who has been reduced to the show's meme generator with temper tantrums worse than that of a 2-year-old, and Buttercup was the tough one of the group with a soft side, but now is just a troublemaker who occasionally learns an obvious lesson at the end of an episode.
It's also worth mentioning that while a lot of the original voice actors for the supporting characters came back, the show doesn't utilize the characters enough, and their performances lack a sort of effort to their voices. As for new villains and monsters, they do have originality on their side, and there are a few good villains, but then we have villains like Man Boy, Bianca Barbarous Bikini, Jamaica, and a panda who's clearly a reference to ecstasy. But hey, with new villains, there must be some good action sequences, right? Well, not exactly. To quote the writers, when you talk about action sequences and you're talking about a comedy show, a lot of the times the action sequences don't move the story forward in a sense. This kind of storytelling can be done. I mean, look at the episodes like 3 Girls and a Monster, Bubble Vicious, Octi-Evil. The girls are fighting giant monsters while also interacting with one another, which leads into some pretty funny moments and keeps the story moving.
And even if the show had more action sequences, the big problem here is that the girls got nerfed in the reboot, as in they go down with one punch. They can easily break bones from a tail whip, be trapped by wood, get whipped by a pink gorilla after an all-nighter, and worst of all, they can't break in a chromium diamond, but 5 ordinary girls on roller skates can? Seriously, what the hell?
Wait, didn't ordinary girls save the day one time in an old Powerpuff Girls episode?
Yeah, but only when the girls lost their powers and there wasn't anyone else to stop Mojo.
Good point. Well, I think it's about time we started wrapping up this review.
It's about time. One more flaw with the show and I swear I would have gone insane. But in all seriousness, the Powerpuff Girls 2016 is an okay show and does a decent job with introducing a newer generation to a classic cartoon that brought the studio this far in the business. But what I believe is the main problem with the show is that it doesn't know if it wants to be a full-on reboot or be somewhat of a continuation of the old show. It relies too much on the audience knowing the characters and knowing plot elements that only make sense when watching the original show and makes things confusing for newcomers. While there are a ton of great writers, animators, and voice talent behind the show, they're just not utilized to their full potential.
I feel the same way. There are good actors here. There are good jokes here. There are good writers here. They're just being undermined by somebody saying, "We have to appeal to a new age." I can look past the show's animation errors, art style, and new actors. What I can't look past is the horrible writing, the never-ending pandering, the terrible shoehorned lessons, and the soon-to-be dated references.
So overall, I highly recommend that people watch the original show over the reboot, but if you enjoy the new show, then that's fine with me. I'm glad to see some people can still give this show a watch.
See, wasn't that great? Like lifting a band-aid all in one go.
Well, I'll admit it's not the worst cartoon out there, but other than that one decent episode we mentioned, I still haven't seen any good episode worth watching again.
Huh. Funny you should mention that.
And so, once again, the day is saved. No thanks to the Teen Titans. Seriously, what is wrong with those guys?
Told ya.
Would you like to play a game of hide and seek now?